Welcome back. Week hiatus from last week. Obviously, last week's conditions were grim. Weren't sure if they were
Oh
going to
yeah.
race or not, so we decided to give it a little pass. But we're back. Good conditions. Getting a little bit warmer later in the day, despite the outfit. Should be what a better side of a soft five, Toby. Also, how are you
Um,
going? Are you good?
I'm certainly warmer than I was last week when I was out there, and it hailed. I don't think we'll get any hail this week. No, track's already a good four. Updated this morning, so expect it to be a four.
That's it. Awesome. How do you think the track will play?
Not too sure. Rail went back to the true last week, and the rail played pretty hot early. Until it got that where being quite wet. So whether the inside's still a bit chopped up a week later, yeah, I really don't know. Probably leaning towards outside lanes at the moment, but definitely want to wait and see how much that track can have recovered in a week.
That's it. Awesome. Eight race program. Obviously, the Belmont Guineas is the feature on the day at Pinjarra Park. I don't know if we've mentioned this on the previews, but I believe Belmont's out of action until late July.
I don't reckon
Is
we'll
that
be
the
back then.
latest?
I don't
Not
reckon
even
we'll be
then.
back then.
Yeah.
That's the company line at the moment. I've seen some photos of what they've done. I'm skeptical about how well it'll work. So even if we get back there sort of late July, from I'm thinking more middle of April. Even if we get back there, not 100% that it'll even hold up then, personally. So
Until then, we race at Pinjarra, Bunbury, and Northern.
and the sand fiber
And the
first
Sandfiber, which
sand fiber
is
meeting on Thursday.
on Thursday, which is next week. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, next week is the kickoff of Racing.com live coverage
Yep,
for
yeah,
those
we'll
playing
be
at
on
home, which
racing.com.
yeah, which is fantastic. I think the 35-second delay for those that are playing at home on Races WA stream gets cut down to what, like a 3-second delay with Racing.com, which is always nice.
Will it?
Think so. Yep.
Oh, okay. Good luck.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be any quicker than Sky. I still think it'll be slower than Sky. Would be my prediction.
We might have a cut on that.
We'll we'll discuss that later.
Yeah. All right. Let's kick it off. Race number one is a 58 plus over the 5 furlongs, which is down the straight. Lord Shiva drawn in 1, 245. Let's talk 10, 310. Mia Gusto 7, Empress of India 850, and high double figures, the rest of them. Take it away.
Interesting race. Could come down to the first 150 to 200 meters. Lord Shiva pretty quick, drawn one. Got to cover a bit of territory to get out and try and cross. Let's talk. Let's talk. Gets probably enough time to try and muster up and hold him. If Lord Shiva gets to the outside fence, the race isn't over, but he then becomes a pretty clear favourite. I'm not convinced he does. He's now sort of 6, 7 weeks between runs, but I think having him fresh will be fine. Scratched last week on that really heavy track, just said future nom, so they can lie, but I'll take it on face value. So, providing nothing's really going to miss any crosses, I think he'll be hardest to beat. But at the moment, I don't know if you're getting the price to find out because I'm not 100% sure that he does. But I would suspect he or Let's Talk lead against that outside fence and become hardest to beat.
Yeah, fair call. I think the one for me, I've got Let's Talk. I mean, we know we've spoken about the outside fence down the straight, how it's worth a couple of lengths. Horse is going well enough. Obviously ran third and only half a head behind Prospector's pick last start, and then brings Yeah Righto form as well. I think if those two horses were in this race, they'd be clear favourites. I think Let's Talk is going a lot better than probably the fifth and third suggest. Obviously, had 2 wins prior to that. The other one that I'm not going to dismiss, and it's about $18, is actually Paddy's Flying. Harrow's Harrow's strike rate at Pinjarra and his horses, especially Paddy's Flying over the 5 furlongs. I think it's really good. He's already got the straight win, two placings at the straight as well. He could be just looking for a little bit of sting out of the ground, which probably won't be ideal, seeing that it's drying up. Um, but I think if he's within striking distance and a couple of the ones fancied in the market beat each other up, he could blouse them at some point late.
Yeah, definitely big believer of Harrow down the straight, like you say.
And obviously backing grades are positive for Paddy's flying.
Mm.
Race number two is the 2-year-old set weights and penalties over the 1200. Good little field here. We've got Medusa 265, Aberdeen Flyer $5, Baby Pearl last start winner 550, Monte Tremezzo returning from a spell at $10, and then $13 and upwards the rest.
I think a pretty easy starting point here is Medusa. Beat nothing first up, but has form around a couple of these that are also in the market, like Aberdeen Flyer from the prep before, where he was good wide throughout, and then, like I say, last start he missed the start a bit, and but picked himself up nicely, and then really extended away from them late. Just the way he did it, and the time overall time was pretty good for 2-year-olds. Draws a gate here. Wouldn't want to miss the start again like that, but barring last start, he's been pretty safe with the barriers through his whole career. So don't see why that would happen again. I think from there he can hold a pretty good spot from two, close enough to Baby Pearl, who looks your leader. Barrier one just means he doesn't have to burn as hard. Don't think he had to burn too hard to find the front the other day, and got first use of the rail. So I think he got a few favours the other day. Stepped to 1200. I think he will manage it, but I think at this stage, as an early, or not even early anymore, 2-year-old, the thousands probably more his go. Just 1200 up in weight. It's just an unknown to an extent. And Aberdeen Flyer trialled really well, but barrier 10 is a big leveler in a field where they should sort themselves out pretty quick. May not get the speed to get him into the race. Same Zali's gift, who was good behind Baby Pearl and should be suited up to 1200.
Yeah, cool. Look, I think you're spot on. I think Medusa, like you mentioned, beat up on absolutely nothing, and this is a lot deeper. But I think it's just the style that he did it in. I think that's the one thing you normally try and look at when you beat up on poor opposition. If it's a short margin, you sort of take concerns with it. But when you gap them and really put them to the ground, it's sort of, to the word, pushes the
Encouraging.
quality aside. I suppose overrides it a little bit. Baby Pearl was obviously impressive last start, burning to the top. Um, I see no reason why he won't do that again. He looks like just a typical jump and run 2-year-old. Same with LV. Wouldn't be surprised if LV doesn't burn across in
Just didn't
typical.
think she'd cross
She
Baby
might not
Pearl.
cross. She'll probably sit in the breeze.
Yeah.
Yeah. In just typical 2-year-old Luke Fernie fashion. So I wouldn't be surprised if it improves. It was massive odds last start. You're still getting a price about it on Saturday. But for me, I think it goes
I just
Medusa,
find it
Baby
interesting
Pearl.
she started like 80s the other day, where she was probably always going to lead and probably against a weaker field. And now you're taking $15 when she's going to have to sit outside leader in a stronger field. I think that's just hard to take, I think.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair. Yeah, it's fair for sure. And then Monte Tremezzo trialled up nicely for its return.
Yeah.
Just that
13
that
looks very
barrier,
hard though.
the barrier is a little bit disgusting. Obviously, haven't mentioned. It's good to see Chris back at the races. Is just a quick one question without notice. How do you approach Chris now coming back off that injury? Do you sort of just
Well,
treat him as typical Chris Parnham?
he's been riding for a week and a half. Looks like he's doing everything the same. I think if anything, he might even go better because I think he's pretty dead set on trying to win that jockeys premiership. So I think he's pretty hungry, and I know he was very keen to get back. Sort of anyone that yeah, I think he went seeking a few second opinions in regards to getting cleared.
Yeah, sweet. Can't disagree. Race number three, love this race. 76 plus handicap, and it's a deep 76 plus. Over 1200. We have repossession at the top of the market, 225. Celestial Storm, $6. Hanchy, 7. Super Session, 7. Cool Memory, 8. And double figures the rest. Take it away.
Repossession. Um, he's an obvious starting point. He's unbeaten this time in. He looks a lot more professional. Think he burns across to the top near on in this. Think he's got a bit too much speed for all of them, except maybe Snow Prince, but I wasn't 100% sure if they'd want to hold up unless they're going to try and help out Hanchy, the stablemate, which is not outside the realms. um, he was good sitting OSL. He can win from OSL anyway because he sat OSL outside Art Session, who I don't think has won two since. No, he has won two since. Yeah.
He won
Art
on
Sessions
Wednesday.
won. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, and he won that race down the straight where he beat Desert Whisper. So he's beat Art Session, who's won two since sitting outside him, and then last start would have been a tragedy beaten if he didn't get out. Got out and absolutely put them to the sword very quickly. Under the apprentice, Brad Parnham back on, I think is a positive. Obviously, the hardest field he's faced, but from the front makes things a lot easier for him. I would think the only other one speed influence that might have tried to hold him is drawn outside him in Celestial Storm. So
Yeah, I think repossession for me is a clear standout on the day. Um, I will, for the first time, disagree with you. I don't think it's the hardest field he's faced. Maybe this prep.
oh, plus yeah, right.
Got him.
Mind you,
Got
is
him.
it much harder than that?
Maybe, maybe not. Um,
I don't
yeah,
think
I
there's a
think I
lot in
think
it.
I think he picks himself. And look, there's no disrespect to Houston. We spoke about this before we started. Rode that horse, you know, brilliantly. Just waiting, finding his time, knew what he had under him, exploded, and yeah, like you said, put him to the sword. Um, Going from Houston to Brad Parnham with, like I said, no disrespect to Houston, but it's a massive positive jockey change. Brad knows him inside out. So yeah, look, I'm very keen to stick with him. I'm surprised at the early price that they put up. I think he's still value at 225. The one that I'm looking forward to, despite I don't want to say bad trial, but it was like okay, is Malkar Pindari. It's shown ability in the past.
I think that's about what I'd expect of her at trials without the shades.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair. Like it was super in the Epona Classic last prep behind Rissoles. Obviously races has raced in a lot tougher. I won't say a lot tougher, but the Mare Series last prep, and it's one that'll be flashing home late. Um, so watch for it. Maybe this start, maybe next. It's a good fresh horse. What do you do with Cool Memory?
Well, he put in a good fresh run last prep and then didn't really go on afterwards. Think he was just right place, right time the other day a little bit as well. Outside, getting to the outside was suited, but they started just going increasingly slow. And I think they've just really walked around in the last, and he's done enough. So pretty happy to risk him here at single figures.
Probably wait for him to probably maybe get out it over a little bit further as well.
Yeah, I suspect he may not be a true stayer. Um, Might have just got away with those 3-year-old races on a bit of class and being a little bit better stayer. I think mile or maybe even 2000, probably not 22 would be his go.
Yeah.
Personally, so just see if they do take him there. You'll Well, it sounds like he also might not have been super sound last prep. So if he stays sound, I think we'll learn a bit about him this time.
Aaron had a fair bit to say in that post-race interview, didn't he?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
in true Darren fashion.
Always good to listen to.
Race number 4 is a 60 plus over a mile. We have Our Paladin Owl. I feel like I've pronounced that incorrectly, but
It's
nonetheless,
Paladin.
there you go.
Just
Our
yeah,
Paladin. Yep. 350 Arcadia Park $6. Lil Capri 10, Rally the Troops 10, Snazzer 11, Armed Yard 11, and extending past that. How do you see this horse in form? The favourite?
yeah. Well, starting to just race truer and truer and truer every start. 3-year-old taking on the older horses, something I love this time of year. Similar to Arcadia Park, who's just drawn, well, not even a lot worse, just a bit worse. But the thing that gets me with our Paladin now is he's had this will be his 5th start, and it'll be his 4th different. Well, I suppose this isn't headgear because he just won't be wearing any, but he's gone winkers to visors and a nose roll to just blinkers, and now blinkers off. I get that he's doing things wrong and they want to learn, but I feel like since the shade's gone on, he's been a lot better. So I don't know why you'd take them off here. But that is not my decision. Um, he has been, like I say, a lot better with his racing manners his last 2. He makes sense as a favourite. I think he's a little bit thin, just because he hasn't really beaten anything yet. The talent's clearly there, but this is a big field and it's not a weak field for a 60 plus. I think well, I don't want to, he and Arcadia Park, I think, are going to be clearly the best horses to come out of it long term. Maybe even Rally the Troops, although I think Rally the Troops might be just one rung below them. Um, he was also good 2 and 3 back when ridden cold. Last start just didn't really get into the race from back the fence in that on that Bunbury deck, which, as we'll talk about through the day, I think that's going to be a day to, especially later in the program, just forgive some horses who didn't really put in. I think it got quite shifting. I think a few of them didn't like it, especially those closer to the fence. So I think one of the 3-year-olds will more than likely win this. I'll narrow it down further and say probably Arcadia Park and our Paladinal just look a bit more progressive. Arcadia Park was really good first up, and then went straight from a mile to 16. Sat OSL on a pretty strong tempo, and only got narrowly beaten by Forever Boy, who nearly beat First Encounter last week. So that's pretty good form. And again, Ryan Houston back to Clint, I think is a positive. So
Yeah, fair comments. I had no opinion on this race. Looking to see what Armjar does here second up. Winker's first time. But other than that, it's not really a race for me. Um, Race number 5, first leg of the quaddie, and it's the most wide open leg, $6.50 the field. It's a 60 plus over
there's been a
1300.
few races like this the last couple of days.
Yeah.
$7
On
the
plein
field.
air, 650. History won't care. $7. Regal Service, $7. Lombardina, 750. Simply Thinking, 850. Thermosphere Lad, 9 at 50. And double figures, the other 15 of them. 14 of them.
Plenty of speed throughout this line. Cross statement will come across. Think he's the one drawn lowest of those 4 that'll really try and charge forward. Think he probably hands up to within some capacity when horses like God's Gate and Thermosphere Lad, who will be a bit more aggressive, come across. And then not sure what Boa Boy does. He's sort of the 4th of those. He's drawn the widest and probably not going to be as aggressive. So I think he might be a 3 wide no cover horse in this, maybe, unless they go back, which I honestly don't know. I thought his trial was pretty good, so I thought they might go forward. Interesting that he trialled without earmuffs, but the earmuffs go on for race day. Could be a clerical error, and they're just supposed to be pre-race ears, but I don't want to theorize too strongly on things like that, because I shouldn't just assume people are incompetent, despite sometimes being proved otherwise. Anyway, think that the on plein air form is probably going to be the better form. So Regal Service and plein air. She split Let's Talk and Prospectus picks. So the form will be on display in race 1. I think that's a bit better than sort of what she makes here. and then she won last start quite nicely. Had to duck back to the inside, had Regal service coming at her late with probably a better run for the day and couldn't get her. So I know she concedes a little weight swing, but interesting that Clint jumps off Regal's service to ride History Won't Care. I know they've got an opinion of History Won't Care, but I feel like there's also an opinion of Regal service. So you lose a little bit probably with Patrick going on. I think Clint is in really hot form at the moment. So,
It's a
um,
stable that is flying once again.
but but Patrick did win on My Idol when Clint didn't have a ride in the race the other day. So maybe Patrick just gets to ride them and I think they were pretty keen with My Idol too. So maybe he just get some good rides every here and there. But and on plein air draws better than them. She's got the tactical speed to hold a spot. Could prove important in the later stages. Can just sit off that speed and ping late, and she can sustain a turn of foot. So I think she is the hardest to beat in a very very open race.
Fair call. I went for one from the yard that's airborne. I just mentioned Michael Grantham, Lombardina.
She trialled very good.
She trialed super, and her last prep was super as well.
Yeah, I think this is a step up from anything she sort of raced that prep, but I think she might be ready for it off that trial.
And
Beating
it
beating
looks like,
Ginger Morpheus, who looks quite talented.
yes, correct. Yep. And look, there gets a soft run. Obviously a capacity field. Could see her get shuffled back a little bit from three.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, she's got a bit of gate speed. She could probably just try and hold the back of on plane air,
Yeah, she could try.
who should
Yeah, for
stay pretty
sure.
handy.
I do prefer her as a horse that builds into the race 3 deep with cover.
Yeah,
I think she's much better like that. Whether or not she gets that here on tomorrow, I don't know. Probably not. But yeah, she's one that I'm definitely interested in. And everything you said about the first three in the market is warranted. First leg of the quaddy.
hell yeah. Um, I think you got to have Pike, uh,
So simply
Hemisphere Lad.
thinking, yeah, yep. I think,
Uh,
yep.
do we leave out History Won't Care? I think of the four favourites, that he's probably the one I'd be most inclined to leave out.
Yeah, coming off that West Speed Platinum.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
Lombardina on plane air, Regal service.
yeah. 3, 4, 9, 10, 12,
And I want to throw in Uncle Jared.
and 13.
Doesn't like winning, but he's going pretty good.
He's getting closer.
He is. Went from running third to second last start. He is getting closer.
So
And
three,
nearly beat Kalima, who's hard in the market for a 66 or a 72 late in the day.
yep, fair call. So 3, 4, 9, 10, 12, and 13 in the first leg go wide. Race
Go
number
wider if you
six.
wish.
Yeah. Race number six, a 66 plus over 1200. Want a winner. 3 L's 40. Horcrux 440. My Hidden Universe 550. Objectify 9. Masamune 13. And Supernatural 13. And high double figures, the rest of them.
Interesting race, primarily for me from the point of view of want a winner, who I thought was in a more winnable race last week and was a longer price. Not by much, but he's sort of a $3.50 favourite in this, which I thought was a little bit deeper with Horcrux, who gets piked for the first time, trolled probably better than Want to Winner for different reasons. They'll both had their merits. Think Horcrux, if Baszler doesn't jump, which is very hit and miss, thought Horcrux would be your most likely leader. There'd be a bit of pressure coming across from out wide. And may elect to hand up to My Hidden Universe, who I suspect could come across pretty hard from an outside gate. They've crossed from 15 once before over 1100 at Bunbury. in a race that had a bit of speed itself, and absolutely smashed the clock that day. Was only a maiden, but absolutely killed the clock, and everything out of that maiden won
Yeah.
uh, races in the near future. Um, yeah, still think Want a Winner is your most likely winner. He's 2 from 2 unbeaten. Beat Keeping a Mystery, who is really starting to come into his own this prep. Gets Chris Parnham off the or had Pike in the trial, so there's probably not a heap in that. But Chris knows him. Gets a gate to work with. Should be pretty close. My Hidden Universe. People were saying like the breeze didn't suit him last night, but I think it was fine. I think the breeze is a pretty good spot for him. Maybe just the way Desert Whisper with what she got away with made it a bit harder for him. And Sunny Honey is going pretty good. First up
Yes.
run, really good. Second up run off the track, really good. The form will be on show behind with History Won't Care in the previous, and then last start in a 72 plus ran
Yeah.
third. I think Holly going on is a good thing. She'll be a bit more positive. I think there's some speed drawn outside him, so from 11 he could end up in a pretty good spot, and there's a big price.
I think that's a great shout. What do you think of Objectify
She
and Dead
was
Heat?
good last start. Dead heat to Woburn Gold, who again in the market in the last. It was a pretty slowly run race, so to pick up and sprint from three back fence was good, but the horse leaders backed it out of her way a bit. So I think Woburn Gold did it a bit tougher. Just good to see her back closer to her best, what I think her best is, because I thought she was going to be a really nice horse, and then just sort of didn't come up last prep, got tipped straight back out, and then won or deadheaded last start. First up, no trial, can win, but again, this is another really open race. This is another really open and good race.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, I think a lot of it probably is decided in the first 200, 250, depending, how quickly my universe gets across. You'd
Yep,
imagine that they try and fire out anyway.
I'd say so.
Always had an opinion of Horcrux. Obviously, has raced in a lot tougher than this in the past. Um, hasn't obviously gone too well, but nonetheless, I think Placid Art form is good. Didn't do anything in the Magic Millions, but there's a bit in the steward's comments for that.
Mm.
Now it returns after what? Second 4 months off, trialed up nicely, and Pike goes on. Want a winner, debut win, spell, first up win, spell, first up win,
Perhaps. I
perhaps.
think that there's a bit of an opinion. I think they've just had to nurse him through a bit of immaturity.
Yeah,
And he's a big boy. So
yeah, and look, he comes out of that Horcrux trial, like you mentioned,
mm.
so that's on display. And look, I'm still not giving up on Masamune. In there
He was good
behind
last start.
Unplanet.
Very strong tempo.
Yep.
Still there
Um,
with 50 to go.
so and that we'll see, that form in the previous with Unplanet. So,
Yep.
quaddy legs, three, Sunny Honey,
Three, 6,
10.
10, 12 definitely both go in. And then do you throw which of the 8 and 9? Do you throw in both? Do you throw in neither?
I would keep 8 in there
Yep.
and
Okay.
veto
He's
9.
more likely to, I think he's more likely to go around a bigger price.
Yep. Yep. So 3, 6, 8, 10, and 12.
Yep.
Race number 7, the feature of the day. It's the Belmont Guineas at Pinjarra Park over a mile. We have Storyville 270, opportunistic, impressive winner in the Raconteur last start at 370. Elite Missile 460, Earthstorm 11, Redback Flyer at 12,
Good horse.
and $15 and up the rest.
You know what? We'll start with Redback Flyer, the champion. I think he'll go back to last and hit the line. I think you'll see the best of him next start over
Awesome.
2,000 meters. Back to the top of the market, which rests between three horses who look your three pretty realistic winning chances. There's some serious crap down the bottom. That's
Yeah.
probably disrespectful, but
It's a
I
long
just
tail.
can't see them getting close to the top end of this field. Who have been one of them was favourite in a Group One. So we'll start off with Storyville, who looked very plain last start. Uh, Gets big weight swings on the two boys that beat her. Thought she actually did a good job because she looked stuffed at the top of the straight when she pulled out, and she still managed to run third. I thought that showed she really tried hard. Don't think the
God
shifting
loves God.
tracks.
God loves a trier.
God does love a trier. Um, Gets those big weight swings on the boys. Although beating some sort of distance, but I think the other things in her favour are that she's now third up. Her first up run was really solid on a good track, which you'll get here, and just don't know if she really handled that shifty track late in the day at Bunbury, where the boys came wider with a bit more momentum in opportunistic and elite missile. I know Elite Missile gets some little weight swings on opportunistic, but I think opportunistic has a bit more room to improve at his only his third start. So I think opportunistic beats Elite Missile. Um, and I think that Storyville beats them both, more than likely.
Ooh, ooh, Storyville on top. I mean, obviously, look, her mile record speaks for itself. Champion fillies, WA Guineas winner. Um, I just, I and I look, I take what you say into account. Um, but 270 and then you got 370, 460. You know, she had a pretty decent gap on them at the top of the straight. They had to make their runs. Granted, probably outside of the track, last up at Bunbury was probably preferred later in the day, but they still both had to do it. Elite Missile was a mile off them, had the back of opportunistic, so had the right toe into the race, clearly. Finished off well, but look, for me, opportunistic. This horse on debut touched on it in its maiden over 1400. It was so soft. Like, yeah, it was a maiden, probably against nothing, but it was just such a soft win. And then for it to come out as its second start, like we rarely see that for horses to, let alone win at their next start. And then instead
Winner
goes
could
to a
feature.
raconteur. Yeah, it was super impressive. They gapped third, being Storyville. I think the step up to a mile is going to suit this horse to no end. Being so, you think probably gets to the best part of. I reckon we'll probably see the best of it over 1800, running second to Red Black Flyer.
Yep.
Um, but
A
nonetheless,
close second, too. A close second,
a close
nonetheless.
second. Nonetheless, I think this horse has a lot more under the hood, and they've clearly taken their time with it. Like they had what, three trials leading up to this. They trialed up in December of last year as well. Two trials leading into its maiden win, and then yeah, for it to do what it did, I think it's for me it's a clear on topper. Opportunistic on top. Elite Missile in for second. Slight concern on Elite Missile out to a mile. Um, But yeah, new prep. It's not quite a new prep, but I think they're probably just figuring it out. At start 14, but could just be a fresh horse as well.
Could be. And he's
So
losing that now.
we'll see. Redback Flyer obviously returns off a nice enough trial, and strung three in a line last prep. So very happy to see it back at the track for all concerned. Any
I'll be very
comment
happy to have
for
my free can of MU export tomorrow.
any concern on the bar plates first time?
No, they've just been a precaution. Um, He's out of a Bletchley Park mare, so those Bletchley Parks have always notoriously had bad feet. So, and he's a big boy, so they're yeah. Laney said
Perfect.
they had to stay on for this as a bit of a precaution, but hoping to come off next start.
Yeah, look, for me, opportunistic on top, elite missile in for second, and Storyville gets one more run before I say she's completely gone.
Sounds like we'll go two out in the quaddy, opportunistic in Storyville,
Yes, if you want Storyville in there.
which I do.
Yep.
So we must make compromises.
Three
May
and two.
we pop a quick pause?
Yes. Right. The lucky last of the day doesn't get any easier. Race number 8, 70 plus handicap over 1400. $5 a field. We have Dracana at $5, Kalima 550, Pondmaster $6, Wooburn Gold 750, Stylish Lord 10, and double figures the rest. Take it away. Finish us
Where do
off.
where does one start?
Great question.
Um, you know what? Kelvinator leads, and I'm calling it now. I'm playing Fred Kersley roulette, and I'll say Kelvinator will lead. Think Dracana. I think if they were smart, which I'm not sure that they are, I would
Yeah,
be
I
looking to
think this
cross.
stable is.
I'd be looking to cross Kalima and tail Kelvinator. I think whoever ends up OSL from there, Kelvinator will kick at the right time and let you out. Unless, of course, the rail's looking crap. That's what I would do. I'm not sure that they will think to do that, but that's what I would do. He's got pretty good tact, or she rather has got pretty good tactical speed. Probably looked a little bit disappointing on fast value last start, but the stable's going good. The run before was really good from OSL. Happy to forgive one bad one where she started a pretty clear favourite. Um, thought might get half a price early just off that little bit of a flop. And there was probably just half a price early in that $7, but thought it might stay there just with how deep a field it is. Speed Dream clearly flying, nearly beat Love and War last start, who they're targeting a railway with, and who wouldn't look out of place in a railway off her first up run last prep in the, I'm going to say Asian Bow. I think whatever she ran second to Super Smink in anyway. Wooburn Gold, uh, unbeaten second up, is now third up. 1400 carries a bit more weight, but draws a gate to sit closer. It should help her. Pondmaster drops out of those 3-year-old features because he probably just doesn't get it. I think they probably thought after last night he's not going to beat those horses at a mile, which I'd probably agree with, but don't mind him coming back against the older horses here at 1400. And Kalima finally won away from being first up last start. Was a bit suited by the day and not sure how Barrier 1 will go for her in this.
Yep. I could not disagree more. No, sorry, I could not agree more. I could not agree more. Um, for me, I think great placement for Pondmaster. Obviously, wasn't all too far behind them. And a lot of those horses are in the market in that Belmont Guineas. You've got Wooburn Gold. I think 1400 is the progressive step. Could be a fresh sprinter though.
Yeah. I think that might be the. I don't want to. I want to see how she goes the rest of this prep before I cement my opinion there, but I would lean that way.
And yeah, look, Kalima, fan of the horse, fan of the stable. They're back. And yeah, I think she gets a pretty soft run. Definitely a lot is sort of a lot starts with what Kelvinator does. I think you're right. I think they do go forward just off its last two wins. I think they'd have to. Um, but yeah, wide open way to finish the day. So
Another
yeah,
nice easy leg for the quaddy.
yeah, exactly right. Do we leave Dracana out?
Nah,
Nah, have it in.
absolutely not. Goes in.
Yep. So what?
Speed Dream goes in,
Yep.
Pond Master goes in, and I'm not too far from there. You may throw up a few more yourself, and I'll veto them if I strongly disagree.
Speed Dream 2, Pondmaster 7, Kelvinator 8, Halima 9, Dracana 11. Do we leave Woo and Gold out?
I I want to veto Kelvinator. He's now a month between. I'm thinking last week might have been a bit of a set, or last whenever he was meant to run might be a bit of a setback. And you lose Taj. I know you're
But you
getting
get
Jared,
you get Jared.
but he's
Jared's
just going so
positive.
well for Taj, and he's a bit of a weird horse.
Yep. Fair. All right, veto Kelvinator. So 2, 7, 9, 11.
Yep.
No Woo and Gold.
Nah, happy to leave her out.
Perfect. Fantastic. Thank you very much, Toby. My best on the program is race 3, number 2, repossession. I think it's just it's deep. It's a deep 76 plus, but I think it's got a few lengths on these heading towards black type races.
Yeah, well, they're
Um,
talking about potentially a bowfine.
yep,
So next
and
week? No, I think it's a fortnight away. So
fortnight away. Yep. And then opportunistic second best in the Belmont Guineas. Love what the horse is doing. Progressive, suits a mile. Thank you very much, Toby. You'll be on track tomorrow. Mount Yard Mail. Your prices. Have you sent early ones out yet, or are they coming?
yeah, yep, no, they're there. They were
They're
done
there.
pretty late last night when I got home
Fantastic.
from Northern.
Awesome. And obviously, you'll update them per scratching Saturday morning.
Yep,
Enjoy the warmer Pinjarra Park
it'll
meeting.
be lovely. 20 degrees and only partly cloudy, no wind. It'll be delightful.
Sick. Fantastic. Hopefully it's quiet so you've got an internet connection. Um,
Yeah, they don't get crowds.
yeah,
They do not get crowds. I mean, last week I thought was considering it was abhorrent conditions was pretty good crowd actually, but I reckon there'll only be about the similar amount this week, and it'll be nice weather. So
yeah, brilliant. Thank
everyone's
you.
saving themselves for the sand fiber on Thursday.
You looking forward to it?
Um, well, I'm thinking they'll be pretty small fields the first couple of meetings, but there's no reason they can't be value. So I'll be
Exactly
hoping.
right. And then you'll throw in a few of your additional mail for Royal Narv, Royal Roburn,
There is plenty of dirt this weekend
and you are licking your lips on a
in
queue.
anticipation.
Can't wait. Looking forward to it. You've got your happy place. I'll speak to you after Opportunistic beat Storyville.
I'll
And
speak to you after the opposite after Redback Flyer runs a nice fifth.
looking forward to it. Thank you very much, Toby.
Thanks, Kev.